What's up guys, Marty Team Beige here, and today we are back with another video. And as y'all know, this past weekend YCS Raleigh happened, and I ended up going, and I made day 2, which I was really happy about. This was my third YCS since starting going to YCSs, and it was the first time I had ever reached day 2, which I felt really good about at the end of the day, with it being a tier 0 format, even post banless. I didn't make it to top 32, but my king, Edward Kim, ended up making it. Go check out his profile on the channel. But I was I like to think I was close, but overall I'm really happy with how I think the event turned out for me. I was kind of like not loving the idea of playing at Raleigh since the banlist because I was so ready to play pure Snake Eye. Which ended up winning the YCS, so maybe it was the choice. But I did have a good time day 1 with this event, or with this deck. And a huge shout out to everyone who was at the YCS that I got to see. Loved seeing you, loved everyone from Beige who was there. Shout outs to Ava Lise and Nesh for their respective videos on learning the Fire King deck. Those actually helped me a lot prep for the YCS. Shout outs to Mo, Amar, Timmy, just so many names. Shout out to everyone who was cheering me on for day 2, even though I wasn't able to make it so far. But anyways, let's get into the profile. I'm going to talk about some things that I probably would end up changing post banless or post lighted Legacy of Destruction. So we'll get right into it. Start things off. We got 1 Garunix, 2 Kieran, 1 Ponix, 1 Arvada, 1 Fire King Island, and 1 Sanctuary for our Fire King cards. This is like completely standard. There's nothing a lot to say about this. I've seen people cut Sanctuary. I don't think that's necessarily right. I think you kind of need it as a combo starter, and it's like a decent thing to play or to send off your Snake Eye cards. And like you can set up a board that basically doesn't punish you for getting rid of it, even if they Cosmic, which is the board I ended up going for most of the time. I made it as far as round 10, and I had a very interactive game 1 and game 2, but then game 3, I ended up drawing Garunix, Ash, Droll, Imperm, and then Fire King Island, and I drew Droll for turn. Or I didn't draw Fire King Island, I drew, basically just, it was another piece of non-engine. So like, it was just really unfortunate that was how that last game went out, but my opponent was super cool, and we had a good game 1 and game 2. So like this ratio is fine. I'm actually kind of interested to see what the Fire King deck will look like when we get that new card, which I'll have on the screen right now. I think that card is really good, just as another starter. It might mean a more condensed Snake Eye package, but the Snake Eye cards, as we know, are really good. So there's like no reason not to play them. We have 3 Bonfire. This is your best searcher. 3 Snake Eye Ash, 2 Poplar. We have the 1 Oak, the 1 Flamberge, and the 1 Divine Temple. I ended up drawing Poplar a lot, which was kind of annoying. Like I think one hand I drew was Bonfire and exactly Poplar. But we ended up playing through it somehow. I drew one hand, I think it was, I can't remember which round it was in Swiss, but I ended up drawing Temple and Fire King Island together and like a name, and I like somehow played through it. It was really weird. I actually wasn't testing, I ended up doing that, but it was like drawing I think the main issue with the Fire King deck is when you draw like the bricks of the Fire King engine with the Snake Eye engine, like drawing Island, non-engine, and Flamberge, like it doesn't really do a lot, which is like my one complaint, I think, after playing this weekend. I wish the deck was like a little bit more cohesive. It's technically the best deck in the room, or one of the best decks in the room. So clearly it has the mileage to do like the combo you want it to. But that was just the things I was noticing playing this deck for the first time at like a big premiere event. But like otherwise everything was, I'd say like ratio wise, everything was pretty standard. I think it might be interesting to see also how the new Diabell Star card plays into this deck, plus Legacy of Destruction. 3 Wanted, 3 Diabell, 1 Original. There were games that I ended up drawing like a lot of Wanteds and Diabells together, but it wasn't like the worst thing. We just had like the means to go second sometimes, and if we were able to break the board with like that much engine, it was good. And then 1 for 1. I ended up like siding out this a lot because I was like, I didn't want to go minus on the card advantage, but it was like a little bit weird also because I wanted to see consistency. Sometimes going second, I also took out a Poplar or like a Kieran or maybe a Sanctuary, depending on the matchup. I thought the game was going to be like a grind fest, I kept like Poplar in or maybe Kieran, and then like maybe took out 1-for-1, or if it was like a more kind of like, sometimes in the mirror I took out like one of the like engine requirements or like something like this. So that's it for the main engine. I would like, don't think I would change anything. I want to try maybe the Diabellstar card in this, but I'm also going to be trying out a lot of new decks out of Legacy Destruction, so make sure to stay tuned to that on the channel. For the non-engine, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Effect Veiler, 3 Droll and Lockbird, 3 Nibiru the Primal Being, 3 Infinite Impermanence, and 2 Triple Tactics Talents. So the deck came out to 43 cards. I wasn't like crazy about the idea of it being 43 cards, but I just really was kind of like wanting just a lot of non-engine to work with. And in the end, that's actually what got me out of round 10, but it is what it is. Ash was really good into like a lot of stuff. Getting Hida punished wasn't like the worst thing. 3 Veiler, I usually sided this out going second into like Fire King. Just because I thought it like wasn't as impactful even without Kieran, in favor of like maybe like Cosmics or just something else that I felt was maybe good, or at least like I adjusted the ratios. 3 Droll was like pretty good into most things. Actually, I had 2 losses. My record overall was 6 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw on day 1 of Swiss, and then I ended up losing round 10 on day 2. All my losses and draws were to Voiceless Voice, and it is crazy how they can shockingly play through Droll. That was like one thing I learned this past weekend, is that Droll does not turn off Voiceless Voice. Don't let people fool you into thinking it does. It's really good for that matchup, but it is like not completely game ending unless you like really get it to be game ending. I think also what was my problem against the Fire King guy on day 10, or I'm sorry, round 10 on day 2, was in my hand of Garunix, Ash, Droll, Imperm, Talents, and then drawing Droll for turn. He normal summoned Ponix, added Island. I Drolled him, thinking, like, hoping to keep him off of the main engine, and then he just ended up passing. Like, he didn't have Diabell or Original or Wanted or anything, which I feel like if he did, would have made the Talents my hand so much better. So it was just kind of unfortunate. Nibiru was, like, overall good into, like, the Mirror and, like Snake Eye, ended up like clearing some boards with it. The Imperms were good just as like a way to play around Talents, and as just a 6 card to be good. Talents was like decently okay. I think I ripped a couple hands a couple times. I didn't really take ever with it, and I drew 2 cards like once, I think. For the matchups that I ended up playing against, it was 3 Fire King, 2 Snake Eye, 3 Voiceless Voice, and 1 Branded on day 1, and like this non-engine spread I thought was very good for overall for it, and also because like against Branded I ended up like taking out like Drolls and the Nib for like the Bistiles I had inside, and some droplets, and then like these 2 for Cosmics, which ended up working out. And like kept the effect negation in, and then Fire King, I just basically like kept most of this in, except for maybe swapping the Talents for Cosmics or something. Or actually, I didn't really think I did. I swapped the Veilers, is what I said. So overall, like the non-engine I think was fine. I may try and cut it down to like 42, which was the number I was hoping for, but overall, pretty much fine. Like maybe the only changes I'd make. For the extra deck, we have the 1 Anima, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 SP Little Knight, Doolittle Chimera. This card was the best card in my extra deck by far for the Fire King combo. The one I ended up doing a lot was where you would basically do the early Appaloosa line, but instead of making Heat Soul with the 2 bodies under Sunlight Wolf, you make Doolittle Chimera, and then you link for the Appaloosa for 2 materials, and then you Fire King Island, pop something, add Garun. I usually popped like Flamberge in hand that I added back, and then you pop Flamberge, add Garunix summon itself, dumping our Arvada, and then you'd go, or no, I'm sorry, like somewhere in there, actually what I ended up doing was having Doolittle up, and then Fire King Island popping it, and so then Island pops this, add Garunix Chainlink 1, Arvada Chainlink 2, targeting Ponix. The Garunix summons itself, popping Arvada, so then you can then summon the Doolittle Chimera back off of Arvada, and then summon Ponix, and that was like bodies for a Link 4 or the Link 3 Promethean Princess, and while also still being able to keep Flamberge. It was really nice. I loved this card, I think, all weekend. Doolittle was insane. I had a lot of people like reading it, being like, what does this do? One Sunlight Wolf, one Nightmare Phoenix, two Charmers. Charmers were crazy. We love Charmers in this household. Promethean Princess. I don't think I needed a second. I like considered it, but it was like okay. I can't think of a time that it really came up where I maybe needed the extra one. Celine. I used this I think sometimes for Apollosa, but it didn't come up too much. Access code. I didn't make access code all weekend. I don't think it's like bad, but I think it's like eh. Like in Pure Snake Eye, I definitely would play Typhon, I think, like I was doing in the past before the ban list. But access code was like okay. Shout outs to my round 1 opponent Nathaniel. We started round 1 at like 10 in the morning. Both of us were super tired. It was a Fire King mirror, and we just had a great time. Game 1, it was 18 turns of interactive fun, and we ended up just like swapping access codes because he wanted my German secret, and I was like, yeah, sure, I had a good time, so I'll do it. So shout out to you, Nathaniel. One Apollosa. This card was crazy. We love Apollosa. I only got taken, I think, once with talents. Raging Phoenix Zelantis. Round 10, my opponent did something really cool, and honestly is what kept me from, I think, also winning in game 1, was he ended up breaking my board and then ending on Zelantis co-linked with SP, which, like, completely just stunned me out for a bit, because it was like he banishes whatever I summon and an effect I use with SP, and then Zelantis also could get a pop it, or if he didn't do that. And then one Ambler Whale, I ended up making it, and this also was great for popping stuff. Against my voiceless player, round 3, he ended up attacking over, I think, just like some of my board. After he played through negations, I had the Doolittle up that I reborned off Arvada when it died. And then so when he popped that, he had Old Man Ceravis on the field after I grinded him out from having like nothing else. And so he had that, it was like that barrier, and he used Radiance on his own turn. So he attacked over Chimera, or not Chimera, yeah, he attacked over Chimera, and I was able to chain block a bit. And I used Ambler Whale to get rid of the Old Man Ceravis because I had a Diabell in hand, and I knew I had to Link Climb or summon Diabell to basically break his very half medium board. Extra deck was perfect, I think. Maybe access code is like the one thing to experiment with. And then for the side deck, I had like mixed feelings about my side deck. So I had 3 Bestials for Branded, or Voiceless Voice. This card was good against Branded. I ended up winning a game because I drew from his Gronganil when he had like nothing left. During Voiceless Voice, it was like, I didn't really see them. 3 Droplet, I really liked Droplet into a lot of matchups. I think like this was maybe one of the best cards in my side deck going second. 1 Harpies and 2 Cosmic. I was a little worried about playing Runic Stun this past weekend, but I dodged like all of it. I literally just played Fire, Voiceless, and Branded like for 10 rounds. So I'm kind of glad about that actually. I think I sided like Harpies in once against a couple Voiceless players just to see if I could break their boards, but I never really saw it. But I think that had to do with the main deck count. Now for like the last 6 cards, I was really not happy with these last 6 cards. I think my going second cards were great. So many times I went second except for round 10. Like these 9 cards you see right now were absolutely incredible. And I felt super confident about playing them. What I think were the worst cards in my side deck, and I'll talk about why, because some of them may be shocking to some who are maybe even more experienced with this deck than I am. 3 Crossout Designator and 3 Solemn Judgment. So I think this had to do with my deck building. If I played 44 cards, I think this would have been a lot better. The problem is that like I wanted Judgment to play around like not even like Dark Ruler, but I just wanted to be like a super impactful against like Talents or something, or just hitting those really strong cards or moments or summons. And I used it like a couple times, but it didn't really pay off too well. And then Crossout, like I just also didn't see it. And then the times I had it, it felt like okay. I think like a couple times I crossed out Nib. Like Crossout was good when it was good, but I think the hardest thing for me was seeing a lot of hand traps and a lot of interruptions, where when I would have like maybe 1 piece of gas and then 4 non-engine, including crossout. Like, at least in the Fire King version, I felt like it wasn't really enough. And so that's why when I was saying earlier about the new Fire King card, I kind of am, and also the Diabell Star card, I want to see where this deck can, like, have more engine to maybe play through interruptions better. And Judgment, I think, like, I would swap out for something else. Anyways, guys, that is the profile. Let me know what you think down below. Honestly, I am super glad I was able to make day 2. Again, I just, like, this was my 3rd YCS, and so it really has felt, it really just felt amazing being able to get there. Again, massive shout outs to the people who have supported me, and shout outs to you all for watching Team Beige and watching our videos. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And I'm Marty, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.